So, what all goes into planning a trip to the Holy Land? I'm glad you asked. That's a great question. If you think about it, a trip to Israel can look like, well, this.
For Jews and Christians, Jerusalem is central to our faith.
If you're new here, this channel is dedicated to making videos that aid in ministry preparation, and going on a trip to Israel is way up there on the list of essentials for anyone preparing for full-time ministry. So what does it take? What goes into preparing for a trip to Israel? In this video, I'm going to give you what I think are the top 11 things that you should do if you're preparing to go to Israel, and a suggested order that you should probably pay attention to in the order of these steps. So the first thing is to book the flights and orchestrate the car rentals, the hotel stays, and everything like that. So there's really two routes you can take if you want to go to Israel. First, you can just plan everything yourself. You can plan the entire itinerary, where you're going to stay, the hotels, cover the cost of all the transportation yourself. Or two, most people go through a travel agency or some kind of Israel tour agency. So if that's the case, then the tour agency is going to work out your whole itinerary. They're going to book the hotels and everything for you. So that's something you need to think of is the flights. A lot of agencies probably don't cover the initial flight for you to get to Israel. They probably pick you up at the airport and then take care of all your needs from there. So I would say step number one is to book your flights, then get the car rental, hotel, and everything like that taken care of. And that includes taking care of your passport. So that's right up there in step number one, getting your passport taken care of. If you don't have one, you obviously have to get one. Now, step two is to take care of the initial payment and make a budget. Okay, so there's going to be initial fees a long time before you leave to go to Israel. Okay, so you got to get that taken care of early on. So that's going to be paying your travel agency fees, the hotel fees, things like that. Get all that paid, taken care of, and then you want to set up a budget for the trip to Israel. Okay, so I'll let you decide how you want to do the budget on your own. But that's step number two. Then we have number three. Study the places you're going to be going to. Now, there's a lot I'd like to say about this point. It is so essential that you look at some good atlases, some good Bible maps. Even just using the map in the back of your Bible is a great idea before you plan and prepare to go on this trip to Israel. So I would say read about these places that you're going to visit in Scripture. Go find the passages that talk about them. Go through your itinerary and look at the order of the places that you're going to be going to. And then what I would say is make a map. You can just look up online a blank map of Israel and then find all the cities that you're going to be going to. Name them, you can number them, however works for you, and then figure out the route you're going to be taking in order, following your itinerary. And that way it'll give you a really good feel for each day before you even get there. And it really sinks in. And when you're traveling, driving from place to place, you'll remember that map and you'll at least have your bearings. And then couple that with the scripture and reading these passages in the Bible, reading them in atlases, reading about the historical significance of each place, just looking up, doing a basic Wikipedia search on each of the places. That gives you a huge advantage before you go there. So that way you know what you're looking at when you're looking at it, when you're there in the moment at the spot. You're not confused, wondering where is this or what happened here? And that will exponentially increase the value of this trip to you. I'm serious. Preparing for the trip really, really pays dividends. So don't slack off on this part. Okay, this is step three. Really take the whole time of preparing for the logistics of the trip and getting your flights and everything worked out, all the budgeting and everything, and really set aside the time to prepare yourself for these places, for the sites, for the history, for the meaning, and the route that you're going to take, and all of that, how the places connect to one another. Go through any material that your travel agency might send you. They're going to be sending you things on how to pack, how to go through the airport, all those different nuances of the whole process of traveling to Israel. Read through all of that. Just really educate yourself. Dive into the trip. Okay. And then I would say even test yourself over the facts. So if you are studying up on these places and you're going with other team members, or maybe you're just going on a private trip with some friends, quiz each other, make a test. We actually had to, our group was pretty stringent. I guess that's a word. They were pretty serious about preparing for the trip. So we went through a lot of vigorous reading and studying, and then we actually all had to take a test, and we graded the test on each of the sites on the history, and that really helped prepare. Just knowing the important things before you get to each site makes a big difference. So now we're going to go to number 4. Step number 4 in preparing for a trip to Israel is, and this might sound kind of funny, but it's read books and watch YouTube. I'm serious. There are a ton, starting with the books part here, there are a ton of books, and I mean like physical, hardback and softcover paper books, okay? You should get your hands on some of these books on Israeli history, on their wars, on the founding of Zionism, on the whole movement, just anything. There's so many books. And if you want some specific recommendations, I would love to give you some to help you prepare for your trip to Israel. But there's so much literature that's been written on this relatively new country as far as the state of Israel goes, but an ancient people. And there's so much history that would really help you prepare. And then, like I said, watch YouTube videos, which seems kind of funny, but there are some really good sources of all kinds of information that will really just blow your mind, and it'll prepare you for the trip like you might not even think. So I'm going to give you some of these YouTube channels and resources that I would recommend, but please understand me. I am not giving a blanket recommendation for everything promoted on any of these YouTube channels, okay? I don't want to put disclaimers and caveats in for each of these things. So please just be discerning, okay? I'm not recommending any of these people as your pastor or something, okay? So the first one is Traveling to Israel with Oren, okay? It's travelingtoisrael.com is the name of his YouTube channel. Some of his stuff, although he does use the Lord's name in vain, but some of his videos are very helpful. He does basically virtual tours, and you can learn a ton about Israel, and most importantly, the travel aspect. That's what he's really good on, is how to travel to Israel, how to use the taxi system, how to just use the transportation system, especially thinking about Shevat, where a lot of public transportation closes and stuff like that. So watch his YouTube channel, Traveling Israel, and his name is Oren. And then there's Sergio and Rhoda in Israel. They do some really good videos, some really good content on archaeology, especially related to the Bible. And they're not out there attacking the Bible. They actually support the Bible. They claim to be Christians. So I recommend their stuff. Their name is Sergio and Rhoda in Israel for archaeology. It's a good channel. Then you have Unpacked. Okay, I've mentioned them before. They're a great source for Israeli history. Okay, they do all kinds of videos on the nuances of Israeli culture, why there's a conflict in the Middle East, what led to all this, struggle and strife and the violence and just all the cultural aspects. You name it, they have a video on it. All the key political figures in Israel's history, all the prime ministers, going all the way back to, really, basically the founder of Zionism, Theodore Herzl. So some fascinating history. Man, watch some of those videos, Unpacked. Then if you want to get into the tech and military side of things, there's channels like Agilite, of course, the IDF themselves. And then there's Raphael Defense. So those are some channels you can go investigate. Then for news, there's a pretty decent news source out there. The Watchman Newscast is with Eric Stockelbeck, and he keeps you pretty informed on the events happening in Israel today, okay, and their significance around the world, not just in the Middle East. So those are some YouTube channels that I would say, with discernment, you could go watch some of their content, and that will really prepare you for Israel. Most people, I think, don't even have a clue about Israel and what's happened in their past, or what's happening right now in Israel. So that would just be an eye opener, even if you're watching this video and you're not planning to go to Israel anytime soon, you're not trying to organize a trip, just understanding the history and the current events going on in Israel right now and how that's going to shape the world and how that's really fulfilling Bible prophecy is pretty mind-blowing. So just throw that out there for you. Now we're on step 5, okay? This is to get a good camera and practice. Okay, now this is just kind of a personal plug, but I would recommend taking really high quality videos or photos, whatever you are into, of your trip to Israel. Now, if you have just a phone with a good camera on it, you can definitely use that if you have enough storage, okay, because that can be a problem. But if you're into any kind of photography, videography, it's worth buying a nice camera. I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Buy a nice camera, get a ton of SD cards so you have some storage for the photos and videos, and practice with it, okay? Don't just go buy a new camera and expect to get there and learn it on the flight on the way there, and then you think you're going to be able to take good pictures while you're in Israel. That doesn't work, okay? You need to get it a few months ahead of time, start practicing, or if you already have a camera, maybe you could upgrade it just a little bit, get a different camera or something that you're used to, or just take the camera you have, okay? So you can take good pictures. And then, man, you can make a scrapbook. You can put together videos, kind of like what we're doing here. You can make a photo album. You can do whatever you want to with those, but those are memories that you can have for the rest of your life from this trip to Israel. So don't just go to Israel, capture the moments, make memories that you can save and keep and look back on later on. So recommend that. Step number 5. Now, step number 6, this is important, okay? Remember, this is still early on. Step number 6 of 11 here is buy power adapters that you need and other things such as extra batteries, chargers, cords, and probiotics, okay? And obviously any other vitamins or medications that you want to take. Go ahead and buy those early on. You really have a pretty limited window as to when you can order things and buy things for your trip. So if you're wanting to get some extra batteries or extra charging cords or adapters or anything like that, you really want to order that early on. And you can't really make it in Israel without their power adapter. We've done videos on that before. So you want to get their power adapter because that's going to be necessary to charge everything that you have, all your devices. So make sure you get that well ahead of time so you're prepared. Step number 7 is to plan your own devotional schedule. Now, this is something that we actually did, and it was actually really, I would say, really fruitful to sit down before you even go on the trip and to look at the itinerary to see where you're going to go each day. And I was debating on whether to do sites that we had seen the day before to read about those the next morning, or to read about a site in the morning that we were going to see that day. But what I ended up doing is read about it first in the morning and then go see it that day. And that was pretty powerful, really, just because being there on the ground, having a Jewish tour guide explain to you the significance of the site and having a Bible teacher there who can answer questions and really just bring the site to life, it really has provided me with some really incredible insight on the Bible that I did not have before. Some of just the thoughts now that when I read those passages again, which that's an idea too. You can make a devotional schedule for while you're there and then come back and then reread all those passages again. And when you read those again, man, there's so many fresh insights that just jump off the page from the Bible because you've been there. I don't even know how to describe it to you, okay? But you have to do this. You have to make, at least, it doesn't have to be much. It can be a few chapters. It can be a time of prayer, a couple key passages on each spot, or even just one longer key passage on the spot, like David fighting Goliath, or Christ in Capernaum, like working miracles and proclaiming the gospel and teaching the people. That's pretty life-changing. So highly recommend that. But that means you have to be doing all this other preparation beforehand too, so it doesn't get right before your trip and you're running out of time to buy the power adapter and you had to shop and buy some extra t-shirts and all this stuff. You have to start planning well ahead of time so that you can get all this packed in before you even go. Okay, so now we're on step 8. and that is to withdraw funds and separate out your money. Okay. So I would say this one thing, just to kind of give you a sneak peek of next week's video. You want to get a lot of ones, okay, for tips, because they take obviously shekels for tips because they're in Israel. That's their currency there. And they'll take, the 5 shekel, 10 shekel, 20 shekel bill or whatever. They'll take that money. But for one thing, it's hard to find a place to exchange money. And that's one last thing you'd have to worry about. But if you switch all your money into cash, you withdraw it from the bank and you go over to Israel with, a couple $50 bills and $20 bills, that's way too much for a tip. So if that's the smallest currency you have, you can't just hand someone a $20 bill for carrying your suitcase, for the porters or whatever. So get a lot of $1 bills. That's all I'll say. A little sneak preview for next week's video, wrapping your mind around the money situation in Israel. But, man, you want to set aside some money for souvenirs, okay? I don't want to underestimate this at all or downplay it at all because you really need to think about this, okay? When you get there, you might not think that there's anything you want to buy now, but when you get there, I guarantee you there's probably going to be a lot of stuff that you see that are great memories that you're going to wish you had set aside more money for souvenirs for this trip, okay? For example, we got Herodian lamps from the Nazareth village, shofars from the Nazareth village. You can get a menorah we got these from the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem. Books from the Israel Museum, another book from the Garden Tomb in Jerusalem. Wood crosses made from olive wood, placards that say pray for the peace of Jerusalem, maps, hats, mugs, hoodies. Yes, so set aside as much money as you think you can after you pay for this trip so that you can bring back some really good souvenirs. I would definitely emphasize that because you're probably going to spend more in Israel than you thought you were going to. Okay. There's also free souvenirs though that you can think about, such as when you go to the Yalla Valley, you can pick up some rocks there where David killed Goliath. You can get salt from the Dead Sea. You can get shells from Ashkelon, which is on the Mediterranean Sea, and you can get shells from the Sea of Galilee. You can keep your hotel keys. You can get rocks from the wilderness of Paran. So there's a lot of free souvenirs, so don't think that you have to spend money, but you probably will. And then you're going to get this money out of the bank. You're going to separate it out. What I did is I separated it into money for lunches. So that's like $15 a day for lunch. Then I had my souvenir money, which is basically anything surplus extra that I brought. Then money for tips. Okay, so you have it kind of in these 3 separate places. You got your lunch money, souvenirs, tips. That way you don't spend all your money on souvenirs and you have no money for lunch, or you spend too much on lunch and you can't pay your tips. So that way you have it all separated out. So I would recommend withdraw that early on, divide it out, have it ready to go in envelopes or however you want to do that. All right, we're getting there. Step number 9, okay? This is an easy one, okay? You deserve a break at this point. So this is to get a lot of rest and spend extra time with God. And really a big part of the preparation for the trip is preparing spiritually for this trip, okay? Making sure that you are in the right frame of mind, making sure that you're ready spiritually for this trip. And the worst way to try to do that is to be rushed at the end and stressed and panicking and trying to throw things together at the last minute, because that can be very stressful, okay? So if you get, preparing ahead of time, start preparing early, then you can really rest up. You want to get in a good sleep schedule, at least if you're going on a tour that was as rigorous as ours, because you're going to be walking a lot. Clocking in miles and hiking in the mountains and all this stuff, going to some of these places way out in the middle of nowhere. So you want to get rest, get exercise. That's a good idea to get ready. You want to really, I would say, increase your time with God to be spiritually prepared. That's a great way to prepare to go to Israel. Okay, so don't skip that step. Number 9. Step 10, it's pretty straightforward. It's just to pack. You got to pack for the trip. So obviously buy whatever suitcases you need to. And then, just figure out what you're going to wear, pack all of it together, and have fun with it, okay? We had fun packing.
So you can see we have our full bed here full of little goodies that you need to learn how to pack swiftly into a bag. Memory cards here, they look like this, and autofocus is poor on these Apple cameras. I like to have myself extra batteries and battery covers just to protect those gold plates there, because if they get scratched underneath extra curricular activity, then yeah. The Akaso Brave 4 Pro is a very nice action camera. It comes with this waterproof thing. I have this mount here that'll mount right onto my backpack, which you can see right there, my backpack. I keep an extra battery with that one, and I also keep that battery, this nice little sleeve. It's made by Case Logic, very nice one, but it has this extra sleeve up in here that I like to slide him down in there because there is no cover for his little gold plates. And so I do that so that its gold plates are protected. They're covered from, once again, any extracurricular activity can really dissolve possibly the gold plates and really just damage them. I think you understand what I'm trying to get across. This is a little mount for your tripod, absolute necessity. I put that in this bag as well because if I'm ever transferring quickly from my camera to my little Akaso Brave 4 Pro, I'll put that onto your tripod so you can move around and be easily manageable with that. Sunglasses. These are just nice sunglasses, so I keep a little case. Absolutely not a necessity. Please, please, don't think that I'm telling you to get a case, because it's not necessary. Gotta have a water bottle. There's no water in Israel, so you gotta go over to the Med Sea, Red Sea, or Dead Sea, and you gotta pick up your water there, and then go back into the inland. And you say, how do the people live there? Well, that's what they do. Med Sea, Red Sea, Dead Sea. They go to those seas and they pick up whatever they need. Keep a study guide. If you're going to Israel, please know what you're seeing, know what you're looking at. Just go ahead and grab your septics. This is a type H, and you want to grab your little sleeve here. Little sleeve is very nice that Septix provides for you to put your type H adapter into. Pens, pencils, markers, erasers, crayons, Sharpies, whatever. Just be able to mark the land. Rain jacket, my oh my. If you don't have a rain jacket, then you don't need an umbrella, obviously. If you don't have a rain jacket, don't you dare take an umbrella, because you won't need it. We're almost nigh at the end of this video. I hope you enjoy it. Click subscribe. Click the bell to receive notifications. Okay, so we're packing up here. We got the Vanguard, we got the Case Logic, and we got the Low Pro, and we got the ESS, and we got the Canaan. And when you're in Israel, don't make yourself look too rich. This isn't bad. This isn't bad at all. This is actually how I always look right here whenever I'm walking around in Israel. So I have the camera ready, and then everything else is just right there in front of me. I can grab, whatever if I need it at that certain second. It's all right here. You don't have to take it off your back or whatever. It's all here. Don't carry too much more than this. Then people might want to just walk by and just take one of your lenses that's just sitting there in your hand. For example, right here. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video.
Have fun while you pack. All right, and make it as organized as you can so that when you get there, you don't have to worry about where stuff is. Yeah, you know how to pack. Then number 11. This is the last thing here. I would recommend learning, if you have time here at the end, once you've scheduled your devotions that you want to have there, you're all packed up, you got everything planned, obviously have your passport, all that stuff. I would say try to learn some of these Hebrew and Arabic phrases that you can use while you're in Israel, because that is really helpful. Actually, it makes people's day if you speak to them in their own language, just to say thank you or how are you doing or I'm doing fine or whatever, so learn some of their phrases. And we're actually in video number 10 of this series. I'm going to be sharing some of those phrases, just a handful of phrases that you can use in Israel, either, Hebrew or kind of Yiddish or Arabic that you can use to get around in Israel. Some of those phrases, super helpful, okay? And another resource I would recommend is called Hebrew Pod 101. It's a YouTube channel and a website, and they can teach you Hebrew for free. You know, just watch one of their, you know, hour-long videos or something that's like the top 100 phrases in Hebrew or something, and just scribble them down, just repeat them, listen to it over and over, try to learn some of those phrases. So those are the ways I would recommend to prepare for a trip to Israel. As I said, in next week's video, we're going to explain the process with the money in Israel. Trust me, you don't want to miss that video. Okay, it's going to be a huge help. So that's going to be the next thing you need to know before your trip, and I'll see you in the next one.